Hey friends, in this video I want to talk about how I lost 55 pounds using the diet product called Noom. So back in January 2020, I was sitting on my couch watching some television and looking at my computer, and a bunch of commercials were running that were pretty typical of the time, new year, new you, that kind of thing. So I saw the Weight Watcher stuff and I saw the Noom stuff and I thought, oh man, it's just time. It's time. I was 225 pounds. As a young man in early adulthood, I was in the 170s, 180 range, and I just felt like it was time and I was ready for a change. Now, I'd been there before and I've lost weight and I've kind of gone up and down with, yo-yo dieting, but nothing really seemed to stick for me. So I decided to do some research. I looked at both Weight Watchers and Noom and decided I would give the Noom trial a go. So when I got to Noom and started on the trial, there are a few things that really worked for me. One was the daily curriculum, which I really enjoyed. As a person who reads and writes for a living as an English professor, there was a lot there that really got my attention. Plus, it moved away from this business of unsustainable diets, which I've never been good at. Noom basically says, this isn't a diet. We're going to think about broadly your choices that you make, and each week and each day we're going to break down those choices. So there was a whole bunch of stuff that got me thinking through my year with Noom and my 55 pounds that helped me to see that my choices were, not great, and I needed to sort of rethink how I sort of got to that particular point before I started fog eating or, letting food pushers in my life sort of influence me. It was more about taking control and understanding what I was doing in a particular moment. The whole not a diet part really clicked with me. Noom does this thing where it talks about your sort of inner rampaging elephant. And that inner rampaging element gets loose with bags of chips and boxes of cookies and whatnot. And then you're sitting on the couch afterwards thinking, what the hell just happened? I should just quit. I'm terrible. I'm useless. We've all been there when it comes to this idea of dieting. But what that rampaging elephant inside of me said was, I need to be fed every once in a while. So over the last year, I've fed that elephant from time to time. And right now, I love cookies and I still eat cookies, but I've decided to sort of figure out ways to sort of just give that elephant a little bit. Like I have one cookie a day at lunchtime as a treat, and it's my way of saying to myself, I'm not going to give these things up that I love. Instead, I'm going to have these things to sort of satisfy that feeling of need that I have. And so that's a good example of how Noom tends to work overall, is it gets you thinking about the choices you make, and it gets you thinking also about, how to sort of take this new knowledge and then implement it with plans into your daily life. So another thing that Noom does really well is the accountability portions of the program. So you'll be put into a larger group, and there's a group coach there, and that group coach will post things every day, it seems like, and you're not required to participate. And some people tell me this is the one thing they don't really like all that much about Noom, is they don't want to be, they don't want to have to post into these forums. And frankly, I never posted all that much into the group forum. Every once in a while I did, when I felt like I had something to say to congratulate somebody else on a gain or to sort of just be there for somebody else. That idea of seeing that you're not alone within this larger struggle that you're undergoing, I think is kind of a big deal. And so the group coaching, the group experience tends to be a chart your own adventure kind of circumstance. So you put into it what you want. Now, there's also one-to-one coaching that you pay for within Noom, and so this took place weekly. And I found it to be sort of hit and miss off and on. Like sometimes the individual coach would say, so what do you want to work on this week? And I would say, all right, let's tackle this. And so I would try to sort of, work on that particular thing. Maybe it was about, improved hydration, which is something I worked on over the course of the last year with my group coach a lot, as a way to sort of come up with strategies to sort of do this better. And frankly, I'm not very good at it still. It's something I'm still working on. But the one-to-one coach, that would be an avenue for me to talk about my challenges and ask questions. And sometimes I just get questions back that very often I do as a teacher myself to my own students as a way to get me thinking about things, which I appreciated. I know that the one-to-one coach and the group coaches overall aren't going to be able to provide all the answers for us, but they are people within a framework of a larger journey that can be helpful within our process. Another thing that worked for me, at least early on within Noom, were the recipes. So I'm a terrible cook and I don't have any idea what I'm doing, but if I just type in vegan into the recipe search box, it came up with a whole bunch of things that I could look at and get a sense of ways to cook. And of course, like other diet products, you can just click the button and then it will individually log all those things into your calorie counting circumstance. So that's another thing about Noom, is you will be counting calories if you're really serious about this. And I did every day. In fact, I have a streak of about 1,200 going on right now, and I'm happy about that, much like the kids are happy about their Snapchat streaks. I want to understand what I'm doing every day within the program and be able to make decisions about what I'm eating and stay on track, because as I understand, 80% of people who begin programs like this eventually gain the weight back. And what happens then when you sort of hit that goal weight, as I have, becomes even more important to sort of say to yourself, all right, I've made it, but I can't stop. I just can't stop now, because the odds are that the weight is going to come back if I don't pay attention. And so the calorie counting then and the food logging is an important part of that process. Noom also does daily weigh-ins, which I wasn't really all that happy about to begin with, especially when the weight wasn't coming off. But now I use it as a daily check-in. Like, how was my weekend? Well, I will understand more about that during the daily weigh-ins. And I've understood that also to be part of a larger context of what I'm doing, and that my body tends to fluctuate in a 1 to 2.5 pound range depending upon what I've eaten the night before and how much I've hydrated. With what I've eaten, it has to do with salt intake as well. So if I'm steady and doing the right things in terms of choices, I know I'm going to be in a certain place. But it's also just helpful to know every day where you are and about what your ultimate goal is. Okay, now some cons about Noom. So I get from many that it's totally cost prohibitive. It's expensive. But as I sat on my couch in early 2020, thinking about what my future could hold, I realized at 225 pounds that I was facing heart attack and stroke, and my doctor had told me as much, and he told me I needed to get my crap together and figure out a way to move past wherever I was and to get healthy if I wanted to be around for the long haul. And that was important for me, because I thought, for me personally, I wanted to have a third act that I could be proud of, that I could go out and be active and ride my bike and trail run and do all the things that I love to do in the outdoors with my family. That was a big deal. But I get that this can be done without Noom if a person is driven and they know where to find the right sources on the internet to be able to support the work that they want to do. So cost could be a problem for many people, and I totally understand that. Another thing that Noom doesn't do great is within the calorie counting, and this is sort of a granular complaint, things like MyFitnessPal allow you to save meals, like specific meals, like if I had taco salad, I could save that as a meal. But in Noom, it only saves like what you do by day. So when you meal track, you can go backwards and say, I'm going to choose breakfast from 2 days ago, and then that'll go into your food log. So that's kind of a bummer, but since I'm not all that creative with my diet, I was able to just, keep tracking back into my meal logs and just choose things that I had for lunch, which tend to be the same thing for breakfast as well, and just click that into my diet. But for those who are a little bit more creative, in terms of what they eat, that might be more of a problem. So thanks for watching this video. If you feel it was useful, give it a like and maybe subscribe if you want to see more videos like this. Thanks for your time, and we'll see you in the next one.